All right, well, hello,
Can you do
everybody.
transcribe?
Welcome to the Technology Committee, and my apologies for spacing out last week, and my thanks to Nikki for keeping us on track. Here we are. There's an agenda, there's meeting notes from June, which I perused, and I'm sure everybody agrees are fantastic. And Nikki might supposedly be taking notes this meeting, for which, they don't need to be super extensive, but summary notes should be fine on that, and that big note-taking device that you have there.
I'll be using a notebook.
Ooh, oh, that is,
I know.
sorry, a what?
And at the tech committee meeting, no,
Oh, good, you're kind of rebellious. All right, so,
Sometimes old technology is good technology.
okay, so, I have essentially two items that I recognize from our last agenda. And the first is, a summation on the IT upgrade and, a report as to anything that is left over or nothing. And then the second topic is the technology needs survey. Are there other topics that people would like to include in this meeting?
I don't think of anything.
Hearing none. And we'll undoubtedly have a little time for popcorn topics if such come up. So Matt, when we last met in late June, things were like just about complete, but there might have been some other things, some next phase or stuff like that. What's going
Yeah.
on?
So, this is with the network upgrade project, of course. Where we are really is we've, ironed out a few wrinkles that, we were still tripping over, then. So, like we couldn't access the computerized controls for the heating and ventilation system at first. And had to get, the text from that computer, that company on the phone, and we figured out why. Looks like those devices had kind of reset some of their networking information when we changed things over. But so some little things like that were basically as good as we were before, but better. So everything pretty much works that did before. And stuff is faster. We have a few more wired ports in the building, they're turned on. There is still a few things that were supposed to be part of that phase one with Europa that I need to get with them and have them come back to do. And they have reached out to me, and I've just been, frankly, with various things like getting my daughter to college, too busy to be able to do that yet. So we're gonna finish up that phase one part, which were really all kind of improvements over what we had before, but kind of still within the building. And then I'll also look at scheduling what I've been calling phase two, which is when we will be adding a Wi-Fi antenna basically on the back corner of the building and the front of the building near the door to kind of improve our reach outside a little bit better. As part of that too, we'll be basically making it easier to add more networking drops, wired ones on the mezzanine and the second floor should we need to in the future. That's going to involve a little bit of physical work in a couple of people's offices to make room for bolting a small thing on the wall and stuff like that. So basically the upshot is things are still good. We've made a couple improvements of these little last things that weren't quite set when we were in June. And I'm hoping this month to do kind of the next few steps. Not exactly sure when those outdoor antennas will be ready to go up. But I'm hoping again, by the end of this month, I'll know more, maybe have that scheduled at least.
Two questions.
Yeah.
Has Europa been fully paid? Do they have an incentive to come back and finish up the last items on their punch list?
That's a great question. I don't know exactly how that worked. I mean, we definitely we got quotes for them for both phases. I'm assuming we haven't paid them anything for phase two yet at the very least, and I don't know about exactly what the state is with phase one.
Honestly, I don't recall that they've built this for phase one, but they probably have. It was just a long time ago. So, it's, but I didn't have the sense that, I think if they billed this, it would have been, I would have okayed an invoice for work completed.
Yeah.
There's never we have a few ends to tie up, but can you just pay us? We
Yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, and have the materials been ordered yet for the Beltway extension?
I'm not positive. They were quoted, they were built, they're in the agreed to amount for phase two, but I don't know whether they actually have them in their building yet or anything. That's a good question. That's one of the things I'll certainly be looking for. Like I said, when I talk with them next, and we're looking to plan out for phase two there, that external Wi-Fi extension. Yeah, they definitely got the equipment for the main part of phase one that's all done. They had it in-house before a couple weeks, I think, even before the crossover date. Matter of fact, we had one of them here so I could test things with it before before the install date. So they might have them, I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions about the network upgrade?
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
All right. Hearing none. What about this technology survey?
And I'm just pulling that up right now so I can get it broadcast on the computer. I turned off the screen share for a minute, so I could bring it there. So this is what Star sent me, the link to this, Nikki, is that right? So we want
That's
to
right.
look at?
Yep, just a kind of basic sketch based on what we discussed last time we talked.
Has that been emailed to us on the committee or no?
No.
I can send
Okay.
it out over
Thank you.
email. Yeah,
All right, because I just say that I can't read that.
yeah, I have it actually queued up here, so I think.
There, and that has expanded it.
But I don't know if it's still enough, but.
Yeah.
I just sent that.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm just scanning through this for my own sake at the moment, waiting kind of for Leo to,
I'm good.
And you'll see, of course, there are like some notes to us in here as well. So as I started to draft the question, I realized there were a couple that I needed clarification on.
how do we want to, Julio, do you want to tell us what we're doing with this right now? Does Nikki want to talk us through,
Nikki,
what would you like us to
why don't
do?
you walk us through this, Nikki, and tell us what you thought about and
Yeah,
how
sure.
awesome a job you did.
Well, I did an awesome job. Not sure what else there's
Let the
to
minutes
say.
reflect that.
Okay, so
She has total control.
the top pieces are pretty straightforward. We can always adjust here. How often do you use the library's technology services, computers, Wi-Fi, printing? Of course, we can add or adjust that list right there. I think the options are pretty straightforward, but if you wanted to adjust any of that language there, we could certainly do that.
Can I actually interject already?
Yeah, please.
So, it occurred to me a couple things about this, actually. So the first one is that, as I'm thinking about like, what are people going to be thinking of when we ask them this question, right? So there's some things that people probably think of as like, they're very if they use them, it's an active use. Our desktop computers, our laptops, our printer, right? And they think of, I'm coming to the library and I'm using technology services the library is providing. I could also imagine like somebody who maybe comes in and uses their laptop all the time. I mean, I know it says Wi-Fi, but like, maybe like, I don't really use the library's technology services because they don't really think of it. It's so passive in that, it's kind of passive. And so, maybe I'm wondering if maybe we want to call this out a little bit. And then it occurs to me, maybe, I don't know, but maybe we want to start with almost a, I don't know exactly how to do this, but like here's some of the stuff we mean when we say technology services, almost like as a, not just in a list in this question, but like to kind of get that, oh, right, oh yeah, I wouldn't have even thought of that, or I didn't, and it's also another way to be like, I didn't even know the library had that, you know what I mean? Like, and it might be,
So that might be just like an introductory paragraph.
Add a narrative,
At the
yeah.
top, so
Yeah.
like, hi, we, your local library technology committee, want to know about patrons using services. We define library services as these things, Wi-Fi, card catalog, like whatever the whole things
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and it does kind of like dip a toe into what I immediately started struggling with, which was like, oh, are we talking about stuff we're using at the library, or then,
Yeah, because,
because
like-
if somebody says like, I'm reading, ebooks or something, like that starts to muck up our data, then we don't really know, like.
unless we
Well, so-
intentionally kind of try to
Right,
sort it out.
exactly.
so it, like, in this to sort of define what, because my senses were focusing right now on stuff people are coming to the library.
And maybe the order of questions would help too, because I actually I'm not against the idea of putting a little header in there, happy to. But also lots of people skip that,
I
so I
know.
think the question has to also get at the specificity too,
Yep.
so let's like double do it.
Yeah.
And a couple more things have occurred to me, and then maybe we should actually look at more of it, so then I can keep bite my tongue until we've done that, but, one thing occurred to me is, number one, we can also intentionally decide, we want to kind of just we don't want to try to be all inclusive in this first survey, right? We can get crazy and, maybe we reserve the idea of doing follow-ups later that would dive in maybe on more different aspects of it or whatever. And then the other one was, we could do one of those, are you aware of these services, sort of, or multiple possibly,
Mhm.
kind of, like a push question effectively, like, I was somewhat aware, I was not aware, I don't know how you even answer that, right? But like as a way to make it so it's not just the paragraph that you instantly skip, at least you see there's like a yes, no, or some kind of answer, gauge, and, oh yeah, okay, so I will read that maybe.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea, and I think it's good that you brought it up here right at the beginning, because it does it's a question about what the purpose of the survey is
Yeah.
also, right? Because if we, we have quite a few purposes right now, and if we're asking about like, how people are accessing the technology is, like a fairly different like set of questions than like, what stuff do you want? Yeah.
In the first question, again, and it's a funny thing, but if I think of, people of my demographic, I think of people coming into the library and using the, electronic version of the card catalog, which doesn't have like a super swell name that I'm recalling, but, like at one point it was the Barn or something, right? Is that?
Oh, that was a long
Yeah.
time ago, yeah.
Brooks Area Resource Network or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that.
right, okay, but I think that maybe should be included in the first question.
Well, and maybe another solution is to not ask the first question, because the second question is, which of the following technology services do you use most frequently at the library? And and that's an at the library question, so which one do you use while you're here? This does do the job of saying, we offer all of these things.
Mhm.
And it does kind of zoom us in, like, we're gonna get more useful information here, so we could potentially just, yeah.
We
not
could,
ask
but then the
questions.
second one doesn't include looking up books,
We could
looking
certainly
up print
add
books,
that, yeah.
right? That's.
So like using the
Yeah.
card catalog, yeah, as like one of the options.
Using the
The online
quote
catalog.
card catalog.
Yeah.
Not card catalog.
Yes.
I know, that's why I wrote it and I was like, do we call it a card catalog? Is there a name for that?
What do people think, how do people feel about, can you see a survey and it's got the, rate from 1 to 5?
Yeah.
Like super often, somewhat often, not very often, I mean, like, do we, would, sometimes I hate that kind of survey, but it can also like, we could potentially have not just a checkbox here, but like cause I read that and said most frequently, I was like, that gets kind of like a, which ones are used most frequently, rather just a, how
Maybe
often.
then it's like, which one do you use? Cause again, it's like, what do we wanna know here? I mean,
I
personally,
think
I'm like,
this
I
is a
don't know
mix.
that I necessarily care whether someone is using it once every 3 months or, every other day. The question is like, what are you using here? Like, what is a useful service?
Yeah.
It's part that and part like, hey, also we offer
Right.
these things, but yeah, maybe it's which of the following technology services do you use at the library? And we add the card catalog piece and anything else that feels like it's central.
So two things. One is you could combine these two things and have this be a grid of frequency. So you could say, how often do you use public computers? How often do you use it? Like that. And then they'd always have the option, and the default would just be never, never, never. So their lives are easy. They can just click the ones that they use. And then the second thing is, if this survey is part of its raison d'etre is because, or sorry for, it's a reason for existence, is that you're making people aware that we have these services to some extent. So you might say, well, what have you used in the last year? And now that you know what we do, what would you use in the next year? And like, how frequently would you use? So then we get a sense of like, maybe at least at an emotional level, some sort of resource planning starts happening. We could say, well, everybody said they want to use the Wi-Fi. Right, so now we know that's where we better put our money. What do you think?
Personally, I'm not against the idea of asking that question, but I would hesitate to ask it in the same question. Cause I think once the questions get more complicated, then it's harder to sort of tease out the
Makes
data and for
sense.
people to understand the.
What do you and others think though about that kind of grid or sort of rating thing, right? Like the never, sometimes, all the time, like for each one, right? Where it's just like they're listed out
Is
instead
there,
of
is there like a
checkboxes, it's
slider
like.
thing you could do?
It's yeah, you have a couple, you have like a Likert with it, just will say 1 and a 5, and you can label it and you can say, never and
Mhm.
daily, and then you can rate. It won't allow you to like label each one on the
Mhm.
list, but you could still.
I'm
get
not
a
sure that we
response
need a
like that.
Likert for that. I mean, seems okay for me. I
That's
don't know.
my thinking
I
is,
don't
'cause
know that
I'm
I
like,
need to know the frequency.
and the more complicated the question is, the less likely people
People
are to
start
answer it,
going out.
Yeah.
so like,
Yeah.
as easy as we possibly can make it. To get at exactly, like, what is it that we want from this question?
See, I just want to say, I'm probably most interested in what the patrons want help with so that we can organize it differently than we're organizing it now. Okay, so I think the community demand for Matt vastly exceeds the supply of Matt. And so I'm interested in what people want to know so that we can better target our support.
Then maybe what we should do is, let's like read through the whole thing,
Yes, yes.
and then that way we can,
I said I was
maybe we
gonna-
don't want any of these.
I said I was gonna bite my tongue and then I didn't.
Yeah, so if we scan down, yeah, what devices do you use to access? That's another status quo question. It falls in that same bucket. How important is it? There you go. You can see what the Likert looks like. How important is it to you that the library provides assistance with technology?
So what devices do you use?
Public computers, phone, other.
Public computers, personal laptop, phone, tablet.
Yeah, and that one I was, you know, like, oh, are we talking about at the library or at home to access
Right.
library resources? Because those are two different questions and we want to specify, which one we want. Leo, do you want to talk about these one by one, or do you want to do a quick scan of the whole?
I thought
survey.
maybe we were gonna go on, I don't know. What do you want to do?
So was the focus really at the library?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think when we originally discussed the question, I think the
Yeah, so what's
question
my use
was.
to access information and media at the library? That's all you need. to
Yeah,
know.
I think that's what I was thinking, is I was
Public
like, oh, we should
computers,
just.
My own computer, phone.
And that
Others,
does
fine.
kind of loop around and get it like the Wi-Fi question from
I mean,
earlier.
I think
too.
three, like, maybe add your own computer and then,
Yeah.
computer or tablet or whatever, and then other, which I can't imagine what that would be, but.
We might find some interesting things.
Yeah.
And I do say, I do like having phone or, you know, as an option here, if we're not, because it does make a difference to what we try to make sure we can provide, because the experience is so different.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
No, that's great.
I think this is just a great question as it is.
Mhm.
That one's pretty straightforward and easy to answer.
Right.
The satisfied questions, I generally am on the fence about satisfaction questions. That's when I feel like if, we could take it or leave it, but I added it in. Would you like the library to help you with any of these tasks? So this is one where probably we wanna, discuss the specific options, but I think, Leo, this gets more at what you were suggesting. What else? Okay, we have the status quo, yeah.
Isn't it
what
just
is-
called the
where's
library
interest?
catalog now?
Yeah. Yeah, or online catalog.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that I wrote that in there.
You might add to this one, what would you like help with? Successfully use my digital devices.
I was gonna say, the vast majority of my direct patron support these days, and especially, has nothing to do with digital services offered by the library.
Mhm.
It's almost all people with their own device.
Coming
Helping
and going,
them.
I don't know how to use my phone.
Yeah, can you help me set up Zoom on my computer? Can you show me how to use Zoom? All right, I got a Zoom meeting to do. I got a new computer, help me move things over. I got a new phone, help me activate it. It's almost nothing to do with that I do field those questions, but those often take much less of my time.
Mhm.
And sometimes they bleed over, of course, right? I hear you do audiobooks. How do I do that? And it develops that, they've never installed an app on their phone, right? And so more of my time then is about helping them learn how to use their device, even if it's but that is not a frequent reason they come to me. It's an important one, but more often it's just something with their own digital life that they need help with.
Mhm.
So.
I have a lot of complicated thoughts about that, because I'm like also, almost speaking of the resource of Matt, I'm like, do we really want to advertise that we, support all these different, I mean, I want people to get help with their technology, but also like,
But also it's like, geez, isn't that what people at the AT&T store are supposed to do when they sell a new phone?
I'm just thinking like, that's a lot. I want someone, to be supporting, technology use. But I guess I just pause a little bit on getting too specific about what do you want the library to help you set up your phone? Wow, you guys will do that,
Yeah, no.
flying out the door.
Yeah.
You know,
Score.
For free, yeah.
Building a website.
Building a website,
Yeah,
that's like
that's-
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's,
Okay, bad idea. Take that one off. Yeah.
Yeah,
you know.
that's
And
just
that's
like-
my concern too, Nikki,
Yeah.
is that, by advertising what Matt already does, are we just gonna really be blowing him out of the water, for regards?
So,
I mean, and it's back to like a purpose question, right?
Yeah.
Like, would you like the library to help you with any of these tasks? What do we want to know with that question?
learn how to build a website. It's different.
So, yeah, well, because the thing is, if you
Yeah.
had like 10 people who really want to learn how to build a website, then maybe you could like get someone to come in
Mhm.
and do a program about how to do Squarespace or something,
Mhm.
which would be a useful service to the community, but that's not a job for. that's like-
Or if
Yeah.
I'm gonna do any of it, I should maybe do it as a program.
Yeah, as
rather
a
than
program, yeah, so I
one-on-one.
think
Yeah.
that in the early discussion here, it was kind of like looking at ways to have targeted programming that would meet some of those,
Right.
like. a group of people having the same kind of general need as.
So
opposed to,
then
like,
keep
they-
scrolling down, because we
Yeah.
get to that a little bit
Yeah.
later, so
Yeah.
yeah, would you
Workshops,
be interested
classes,
in
yes.
attending technology related workshops or classes at the library? And then if yes, or maybe, what topics would be of most interest to you?
Great
Um,
question.
Yeah, that's.
Do we want to proffer any topics or do we?
That's the danger of it a little
Yeah.
bit, isn't it? Cause it's like, if we fill that in, we may end up with, offering something that we can't provide, perhaps.
No, I think we're asking a question about,
It's great as it is.
something that we
What's the
might
question?
provide.
Yeah,
So if you're asking the question,
It's not promising anything.
you're not.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Would you attend it if we taught a class and have I been hacked? Or how to tell if you've been hacked, or would you, I would like to learn how to, basic skills in JavaScript or
maybe it's,
Whatever.
maybe then the question that comes before, would you be interested in attending technology related workshops? I mean, maybe the question before that maybe the order needs to be flipped so that question about, do you want the library to help you with any of these things is like within the framework of a class, essentially?
I'm not sure how I feel about that specific thing, but just going back one, which is, I think that diving into specifics would be a better follow-up survey or another means of,
Sure,
like,
sure.
I think that it'd be I do like let's get some people's ideas, yeah, and I think better to wait on specifics, either partly based on what we hear from them. And then, if we don't get enough or whatever, we can do some more fishing again, especially once we get some ideas of who we might have to do some of those things, right? If it's me, maybe I outline some stuff without designing a whole thing and then do a thing in the newsletter. Hey, would you be interested in X, Y, or Z? If I've got the idea that I know I could write something and put it together, or if I can find some folks, in the community, especially if Tara, our new outreach person, can help me figure out how to make some of those connections and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right, because we have had people come in and want to learn how to use editing software to do, audio files and things. And we just aren't really equipped to do that. But if we could find somebody to do that, if we saw that there was interest,
It just occurred to me about that. So, part of Brattleboro Community Television sort of charter is people can become members and take lessons on how to, so that they can then make shows for Brattleboro Community Television is the reason. But, we might talk to them about, would they be willing to maybe on some basis come and give a class on some of those things, right? That aren't my particular area of expertise and they know really well, and it could be a way for them to also get the word out about what they do.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
because if people find it interesting, it's like, if you really want to go into
Yeah.
depth, come over here
Yeah.
and play with
Yeah.
our
So maybe we should talk
editing
to Johnny over there sometime.
Yeah,
They've
That's a
been
great idea.
great
That's a
partners
great
in a
idea.
lot of ways for us on various events and things like that. So I think I'm sure they'd be open to have the
it'd be a
conversation.
good recruiting tool.
So-
Could be for both of us, yeah.
Are people saying, am I hearing like a consensus that we don't want to ask the question, would you like the library to help you with any of these tasks? Check all that apply.
I'm not saying that. I think that which ones we want to have in here, use some more sort of workshopping. Great start. This really helps a lot, Nikki,
Yeah,
for
no
sure.
problem.
Give us something to actually look at, bounce off of. But I do think it's a good idea of a question for sure. Yeah.
So that one's the more task focused one, and I think, Leo, the one we were thinking, we didn't wanna necessarily open the can of worms yet, was the giving them specific options for classes.
Yeah,
Would you like?
Yeah, like-
Okay,
this,
yeah,
this,
yeah.
and this, yeah.
So I'm gonna add,
yeah, like
with any
having,
of these tasks, email and internet safety / security, right?
All right, I'm gonna start making a list of
Right,
items.
Matt, don't you encounter people? who are
Absolutely,
all
and actually,
paranoid about all
that one I
shit?
think is actually, that one's a really good candidate for a workshop, right? We did one kind of before after the Equifax breach several years ago. It was pretty well attended. We actually got somebody from Park Place across the way who came over and gave some of the financial sort of expertise. And I'm pretty well qualified to do some of that too. So that's one of the ones I feel pretty confident of, given the time and somebody saying, that's coming up, do it, of getting something together. uh. And I do a fair amount of it, it comes up on my one-on-ones, so yeah, like.
Yeah, that's great. There's an efficiency there. You don't need to meet with 10 people separately.
Exactly.
You could- yeah.
So,
The lure of movements.
yeah, and I have to say, like, that's one, because of all of that I just said, that is one that I think. It might be okay to sprinkle that in here, like in the, would you like help, right? Not mention as a tab, but like, then if we see 17 people say, yes, I'd love help with computer security. Then we're like, great, okay, that is good evidence, maybe that's the first
Yeah, I
class we
think
should
that's a
do.
great one for this list.
Yeah.
That sounds like, yeah.
Thank
What
you
about
so
the,
much.
what about the other ones? We might as well just dig into
Yeah.
that list while we're there. Is there anything that we want to keep? I basically put these in as placeholders. I don't know in a second.
And I find myself thinking, do we want, what level of library related technology and services, online services, digital and non do we want? Do we want them in one question or do we want them in two separate ones? And I'm not sure how I feel about that yet, but I feel like I want to think about that some more. In some ways, partly because I actually want more patrons using our digital services, right? Also, in theory, we should be able to have more staff who can be trained to help people. You know, and actually a bunch of people do, right? And that's another thing is patrons don't always know that. Sometimes they come looking for me when Gene or Amanda or others can help them get set up with Libby on their device, right? But so like, it's one thing to say, okay, here are a few library digital services that we want extra staff to be able to know how to help people with. Right? And then there's weird tech stuff that probably Matt's the best one most likely to be able to figure out. Right?
So maybe that's like its own bucket. I mean, maybe it's a checklist item. It's like use library, resources on your device,
it could be, yeah. Or what I was wondering is yeah.
I think this teases that nicely, though, actually. I sort of like, I felt like you actually did a very nice job. And, sort of, you're gently inviting people to think about some of the different, areas that are both, really library specific and life living in the digital age.
Yeah,
specific.
that's true. It's just, it's a mixed bag at the moment. And
Yeah.
if we got a whole bunch of access ebooks on your phone or tablet and that's, I don't, a lot of people are checking, okay, well then maybe we need to host a workshop
Yeah.
on how to get this stuff on your phone.
I wonder too about.
The security.
Yeah, adding that.
Is really.
Is there anything that you guys want to take off of this list? I mean.
I think
obviously,
building a website.
The website.
Build a
we
website.
should take
Knock
off.
the build a website.
I actually also wonder, like the card catalog one, whether we should make it more kind of goal oriented, like,
Yeah.
find things you can
Yeah.
check out, right,
Yeah,
from the
that's a good
library,
idea.
right? And actually that would encompass the library of things as
Finding
well.
materials in the
Yeah.
library catalog.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Accessing materials through the library catalog.
And placing holds from home even.
Yeah.
And you could.
Oh,
say-
that's-
And knew your books from.
You
home.
could
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
books, comma, et cetera,
Yeah.
if you want to cue
Yeah.
people in, that,
So making
But
most
we
of
have
your
books.
library card from home and then could be, finding materials in the catalog, placing holds, renewing materials.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I kind of like navigating the internet.
Mhm.
I'm wondering. Maybe we just leave that as is.
How about safely navigating?
Mhm.
Then you can put that security idea right in there.
We have.
I
to
kind of
valid
actually
internet.
want to make the security one a little bit more specific in here. Because I think it can see the way to a real targeted workshop. And so like getting really strong indicator of whether somebody's
Yeah,
interested in that,
that's-
yeah. So, I think navigating the internet is fine. I really like setting up and organizing email.
Yeah.
So I think, maybe actually online security would be a good way of capturing the thing that I
I
would,
just scratched out email because I was like, all right, well, if we have email on here, maybe that's, but internet safety and security.
that's great too, yeah, yeah. So I love accessing ebooks on your phone and tablet. I will say downloading media, let's kill download media on your device.
Okay.
There's not a lot that the library specifically offers to help that does that really. I mean, in any way that most people would think of it, and I don't really want to like, I don't think there's a lot of demand for me telling people how to like buy music online in a way that, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
like,
let's not, we
yeah.
got plenty more pressing things.
Yeah,
to
um,
talk about,
So maybe accessing ebooks, audiobooks, and streaming video on your phone or tablet, because then that
Yeah.
covers all the other stuff.
yeah,
too.
so yeah, ebooks, audiobooks. Or video, yeah,
Uh-huh.
or streaming video on your phone or tablet.
Yeah,
I think Canopy is super cool.
Right?
It's
I
amazing.
know. So.
can actually, one thing, actually, I would say, let's move video to a different one.
Okay,
Cause tons of people say, and I agree, why would I wanna watch video on my phone or tablet?
Yeah.
Right, so streaming video
on your.
through with your library card.
Mhm.
And maybe, you know, like to your computer or TV even, right? Because
Mhm.
people don't even know that that's possible and they're much more likely to want to do it, I think.
Yeah.
Than if it's, so I would audiobooks, ebooks and audiobooks with the phone or tablet. And then,
I don't know, Nikki, representative of, and Matt, the mom, parent generation, your kids don't watch, movies on their phone?
No, and in fact, there's like a move in the opposite direction. I was just picking up DVDs in the
Yeah.
hallway, because we are trying to back out of that. So streaming videos. Yeah,
I had to,
no.
yeah,
not Tony.
Marion,
Because of subscriptions,
No, just because of the internet.
danger.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you can watch infinitely.
yeah, Marion stole my desktop monitor to put in her room so she could stream stuff from her laptop to the monitor, which is bigger because our TV is not accessible at the moment. So, in fact, yeah, so. Anyway,
So,
Um,
and
Yeah, and I
actually,
don't
could
know
we
how
add magazines to that list too?
Yes, I was thinking about
Yeah.
magazines to the, on the phone or tablet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how to get Canopy on my computer, so.
I'd be very happy to show you.
Maybe you can reserve a little bit of that.
You can get it on.
And
you can
that's
get
a
it
good
on
one.
TV.
Gene can also help you with that, and other people can too.
I have it on my big screen TV.
Maybe to your phone, tablet, or computer.
Or-
Accessing ebooks, audiobooks on phone,
Or
tablet, or
smart
computer.
TV.
Mm,
So the Roku
Okay,
has an app,
streaming
Roku has an app
video.
for Canopy, so.
Streaming video.
I would say-
or-
I would say streaming video
Amazing.
with your library card.
I'll check it
With
out.
your library
Just-
card.
You can
Just
watch
leave
like
that.
Thank you, 'cause
Criterion
I was about to
movies,
Make a long list.
Yeah,
like, I wanna watch The Seventh Seal on my big screen TV
Yeah.
and using my library card, it's amazing.
That's cool. What's the verb for internet safety and security? What are we trying to get them? I've got it's like already around me.
well, the question says,
Using the-
help you with any of these tasks, right?
Yeah,
Or, yeah,
Say learning about, or,
learning about how to navigate, yeah.
or
Navigating, oh wait, no,
Well-
internet safety and security.
learning.
yeah, I
about-
think, yeah.
That's good,
The
yeah.
internet safely and securely.
And we maybe change tasks to topics in the question, and then you can just say
Help you with any of these
internet
topics.
security and safety or
Or
whatever.
just
You
Any
might,
of these.
you might
Get
wanna
rid of
There you
say
go.
internet/email safety and
I had
security.
email in there and then we had another question.
Yeah,
about
we've got
email.
setting up
So I-
organizing email already.
Online security.
Online, yes.
So that
Online
covers
safety and
yeah.
security,
That
yeah.
covers it all.
Yeah,
Good
there we
luck.
go.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
And-
Usability design is so
Who has
hard.
them?
I have to say, I don't wanna put it on here because I don't have great answers for people unfortunately, but dealing with passwords.
That's part of the safety and security.
Well,
And
but
it's
most people don't think of it that way at all, Leo, and actually it's not.
Yeah.
It's really not. It has nothing to do with security. It has to do with the fact that we've got 9 million accounts that
Yeah.
all require passwords and we have to remember them. The fact, and actually really the passwords, in fact, the passwords are not super secure, even if you're making them complicated. And really the thing that people have the problem with and want the help with is not, is my account secure? It's how can I remember all this crap and get into it? And that's the part that unfortunately I don't have good answers for people because all the password managers I've tried that are really user helpful, they suck. They all suck for various reasons,
I
so.
have one I like.
So, having been, hacked for the first time, 2 weeks ago.
I'm
I
sorry.
I can say that the, properly setting up multi-factor authentication
Is it
um,
very good?
is an important part of
And it's,
security and somehow, someone got into my Gmail and they got into my email through my Gmail because I didn't have,
So
it didn't require that
You're-
I get a text message for that.
you're absolutely right, Leo,
security.
and that's part of the online safety and security
Yeah.
topic.
Uh-huh.
The managing passwords, people, it's nothing to do with security. The
Right.
problem is I have too many passwords and I don't know how to get into things. It is purely a logistical barrier for people.
Mhm.
So
And
you
it
want
is-
me to just put simply managing passwords?
I think we
No,
have to.
Do you-
No, I think we have to. I think we do have to.
You know what, even if we get 300 people, will be like, it was no, don't put on it.
No, I think we have to. I think it would actually help me to know how many people,
I know.
but,
Solve the
and it's a separate thing
Half
from the
the
online
people I
safety and
know.
security.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just ask. Maybe there
Yeah.
won't be high interest, maybe there will, and then we'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
And actually, I mean, I think the thing is actually really, if we leave it off,
Yeah,
it will look bad, right? People will be like, or other will be filled with it, right? So at least it's acknowledging.
Or they'll just
The-
continue to come one by one,
Yeah.
which.
Well, I think that's the thing, is I think at the moment, that's the best I can do.
Yeah,
And I gotta just keep working at it, so.
yeah, but if we do find that there's, a critical mass, and this is unrelated and related to something much further back in the conversation, but in terms of the outreach coordinator, I think all of these things are, I mean, I almost want that coordinator to come in for the next time we talk about the survey, because I think like the next step, once we have the information, is gonna be, so now what? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
who do we pull in? How do we communicate? You know, how do we, let the
Absolutely.
community know that these are the needs that we have? But it would be nice if that person could come in and see the survey
Yeah.
before we finalize.
Yeah,
it.
Tara might have
Give some
good
feedback.
input.
yeah.
In the security, in the survey itself.
Yeah,
Okay. I'll brainstorm on this a little bit too, more, I'm sure there are other things we could put in here, but I think it's a very good sort of start with what we've talked about. Anybody else have anything?
no, and I think there was maybe one more question down at the bottom that we never got to.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right,
Oh,
okay, there were
teens,
a couple of
children,
others,
teens.
yeah, what types of technology resources or services do you believe would benefit children or teens at the library? And I phrased it like that because I was trying to get it away from just being answered by parents and caregivers, just like if other people can answer that question too.
yeah, I think that's really great. Thank you for thinking of that,
Yeah.
Nikki.
And you have a live link for people doing it electronically, or why is this showing up in my survey? Never mind.
Good
It's
question.
not on there,
Yeah.
Types of
so,
resources
okay.
or services, I don't know, yeah.
Right.
We'll check it for bugs for sure before it goes in there.
Okay. This is good, for sure. I'm looking at the additional technology services or resources.
I would say additional staff.
Mhm.
If we have something that I can take to the town and say, look, everybody that answered this question said, we need more staff to do this, you know? It may not happen, but
No, it's, Nikki, I want to praise you for the visual friendly aspect here. I don't know if you made any choices or just defaulted to such a visually friendly thing, but
That's
Did you
mostly
mention those?
Google Forms. I mean, that, I'm trying to keep the questions very simple too,
Yeah.
but yeah, Google Forms is really good at kind of laying this out, and now it does all the spacing and formatting and everything.
all right, well, I don't feel like this is, like, as somebody who does surveys, right? Looking at this is not at all displeasing to me.
Okay, yeah, that's important. Of course, I was taking some liberties there with like, we didn't talk about 3D printing. I have no idea if that's
You could print
something
another
that,
staff
Yeah, you could print something.
I think it's worth having here.
Yeah,
I don't
it
think
would be
it's
3D.
at all likely we're gonna do it anytime.
No.
But I also in many, I mean, I think the VR thing, that would be a stretch for us too, but I think I wanna know how many people want that,
That's just
right?
self-serving. That's my youngest daughter.
Yeah, no, I mean, like,
so.
yeah, that's cool.
I'll write you a check.
I want-
Just go
that's-
right-
You're gonna have to provide alcohol wipes
Yeah.
I know, yeah, it's
to
like.
go with that,
Somebody.
because it's been on
Yeah.
somebody's
It does,
face.
I mean,
So,
But I know that libraries are offering that, so I
Yeah,
got some ideas of
absolutely.
some other
One thing
stuff that I know is
wonder
out
if they're
there.
missing this or not is, should we ask, people if something related to AI?
I was thinking that, and I
Yeah.
didn't wanna
It's a weird
overshoot, but
thing, but like,
yeah.
you know, like, so in my workplace, which is folk rehab, we have some people who use like keyword optimization software for cover letters and resumes,
Mhm.
right? Which is all, so sort of, people are interfacing with AI, knowingly and not knowingly, right? When you're
It's
typing a
worth
text message,
listing, I
you're,
think, on
yeah.
that, like, I don't know if it goes in the tasks, section or topics, I guess if we change it to topics, but it's probably worth knowing. It's definitely on people's minds but maybe we would need to.
Maybe that's
frame it
phase two.
more. Yeah. Yeah, cause I mean, if you just say like, do you need to help with AI as a topic, like, well, yeah, probably.
Most of us probably do.
Exactly.
My feeling about that topic is, and we actually I know one patient in particular who really wants us to have a program about it. I think a program about it is probably the most likely next thing about it. I kind of know enough to know that I don't know enough. And if I had time to look for and found the right person, that would be the definite first sort of step that I would do. Excellent to know. The other thing, of course, is,
It depends on what you wanna do.
yeah, exactly, right? There will be people who want to know how to use it, what it can do for them, and there are people who want to know what impact it's gonna have on our society. And those are,
Those are both
Well,
great
and
questions.
program,
Those are
and
two, that's at
great-
least two programs, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
you told me
That's a
already.
great opportunity to like do a specific survey among people who
Yeah.
are interested in AI. If we had
Yeah.
people here who were attending a program
Yeah.
already anyway, then we could sort of dig in a little bit.
It dawns on me, hotspots should be on here. What do you use from the library hotspots?
Which questions
Isn't
does
that-
that go
That is-
in? Is that like,
That would be.
Isn't that
the-
Wi-Fi or?
no,
No, because you can check out a hotspot. and take
Oh, I
pictures.
see.
So.
If you can-
do they,
if you-
do they
if you get
use
lucky,
that
you can
at
get
the
one.
library? or
no,
is
they check
that-
it out and take it home.
Yeah.
They take it home.
Yeah,
So,
Well, do we
library-
have-
yes, it probably wouldn't go
Library
into
pays
this
for the
question exactly as
connectivity.
done, but.
what devices do you use? Or was that at the library?
That was how do you,
how
it's
do
gonna
you
say at
access
the library.
information? Okay.
Which of the
So for the-
following services you could add a hotspot there?
But
because
this says at the library at the moment. And I think I didn't really. This didn't occur to me until you said it, Nikki, but I do think that you're right, that the at versus somehow related to, but not here, is an important distinction.
Mhm.
And so that kind of does make it a little bit trickier to figure out exactly how to throw in hotspots, but yeah,
Well,
let's.
and I think the question is what we wanna know about them, because we do know how frequently they get checked out, right? But what do you wanna know about the hotspots?
Will you return it?
What if you borrow a
Will you
hotspot,
never
will you
return-
bring it back?
That's the biggest problem, right? People
Okay.
don't bring them back.
Yeah, and even when we turn off the service to them, they still don't.
Oh, what a bummer.
Yeah. It's really. But they're tremendously sought after by all kinds of folks, yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, borrowing ebooks and audiobooks, that's not necessarily something people do at the
It's actually a
library.
good point.
Mhm.
So, so that could go,
So maybe we want to think a little bit more, expand this list into two more that are things, keep the things that are at the library in kind of pretty much as phrased, and then maybe move some of this and add some more that are not necessarily at the library.
Yeah, and some of them, it's like, do we have this data elsewhere? Because, a lot of this, we can tell how many people are accessing certain
Right,
things, right?
but one of the reasons maybe to do some of the survey is to make people aware of things that they don't know
That's
already,
true.
right? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like, that there's hotspots.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
If people want them back. Theoretically.
Just
So-
have them explode.
So maybe it goes under the, no, it's not under topics. I was like task. If it were task list, then you could say access the internet, outside
Can
the
we go to
library
the-
with a hotspot.
Oh, I see. So those are services and then keep going, okay. Da, 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 da.
With these, we were just gonna say, whatever.
That's, yeah, get rid of the noun, just these. Would you like help with any of these? Any of the following? Would you like help with any of the following? And then it can be, they can be nouns or verbs. You know what I'm saying? They could be services, they could be actions, or they could be. I think,
I mean,
In the service of wrapping up this meeting on time,
Yeah.
I'm curious, we've had some really good discussion. We're trying to improve on the good work that you did collaboratively. And what do we think the next step is?
I have notes here on the adjustments that we want to make, and I think I just make the adjustments and we take a look at another draft next time we meet.
and maybe we have Tara here next
Yeah.
month as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I will try to spend some brain time on it between now and then as well.
And I'll send a new link in case anybody does happen to have time, once I get it revised, if you have a minute, and then, yeah, you.
All right, but I just wanna highlight the idea. This doesn't have to be perfect, okay? You know, it's already good. We're making it better, but let's not delay till next year because it's gonna be perfect.
and we can also run it by the full-time staff here too, and have them put their eyes on, it, especially the children's room. since they're right about to be done.
That would be
But not
Best
great.
is, the best is the enemy of the good.
Exactly.
But not if it's gonna make us crazy,
Oh, no,
like, you know,
we have plenty of.
like
other things.
100 new cooks in the kitchen. We don't want.
Well, we
Yes,
could
Dr.
just set a parameter, just say like, take a look at this before the end of the week, send it out on a Wednesday,
Exactly.
I mean, if there's some question you can't live without or can't live with,
Right,
let us know.
Yeah, yeah.
and everybody's too busy
Yeah.
to cook it.
Yeah.
Take
That's
off.
that's what I ask my tech writers to do. It's like, we know that when you send your draft out for review, nobody will ever give it back to you. So give them a deadline and just say, if you don't review it before this date, it's going out, so,
It's a
There you go.
motivator
yeah.
for the interested.
Can we confirm the next date that we have?
Yeah, it might actually just be in like 3 weeks,
It sounds like it.
so we get back on schedule.
And that's good, because that's a quick turnaround for this.
Yeah.
and keep things moving.
Is it, this is ordinarily supposed to be the fourth or the last Wednesday of the month?
It was- Yeah,
Great, so the 25th would be the last Wednesday of September.
and fourth. What? Are you coming in to get me?
Yeah,
Okay.
phone's alarm keeps going up.
Oh. Yeah, because I.
You're
have to go
in
someplace.
trouble,
That's
Star.
Okay,
Okay.
All right.
are we,
So the next.
We might be adjourned, the 25th,
We have adjourned.
all right, I'm gonna stop the recording.
5:29.
Nicely done.